Okay, guys, so this is currently 22nd of January 2026, and I'm gonna be reviewing today's price action. Today is Thursday, 22nd of Jan. So, yeah, let's get into it. Done करते हैं start. Always let's start from the daily chart. All assets together. If we just have a single यार इसको उसमें चाहिए मेरे को just like ignore this for the moment. We had clear manipulation of a relevant low yesterday. So going into today, we had a logical reason to be bullish biased. है ना? All assets, simply nothing much to make it complicated. Simply manipulation of a relevant low, clear willingness to trade back inside, so we can look for next day continuation. NQ had this as an objective. You can consider this as well. YM vice versa, kind of same range relevant low manipulation, this as the objective, but this is not in the close proximity which ideally a single daily candle could reach. I mean, yeah, but I wouldn't be framing all the way till there in the same day. So these two, if I would have got a chance to frame long, then it would have been a risk reward based position, not an objective based position, because I simply don't have a clear objective for this current day's rate. Yes, long term, for the next 1 to 3 days I want to trade towards this, but I cannot target this the same day. Vice versa for NQ. यार विंडोज दबा रहा हूँ उसके लिए, like 620 average daily range is 350. So yes, now here we come to 5M, which had my most interest today. Clear previous framework, clear framework here. चल one sided large range is small range is simply this is a cycle of price goes from cycle of large range to small range to then again large range. Okay, so when price spends time within a range, that is something I like, because when it breaks that range, that means now we could anticipate larger ranges and anticipate quality price action. So it breaks the range and shows us again the manipulation signature. So simply range low manipulation, range high objective. But this is the only asset whose objective was within the average daily range reach. Currently it looks like 633, but still okay, huh? Much better than those two. Okay, so yeah, I could frame all the way till there the same day, seeing how the previous daily range formed with that much willingness. So yeah, a little bit above average daily range, yeah, plausible. So simply all three assets bullish idea. I won't be talking about RTY currently, just these three. But the one which I can actually target a clear price based draw would be YM. But if I would get a chance to frame NQES, my approach was that I would take a risk reward based position or simply previous day as a low hanging fruit, bare minimum in all three. But if we get into the intraday range, the way it formed, open to forming a low which could be trusted as low of the day, protected low, forming open, forming a protected low below daily opening price, open to low, then moving higher. So yeah, I could trust this as the low of the day and could look to trade away from this same in all assets, be it ES, be it YM. Manipulation below the current day is open, vice versa in YM. Done scene. Is pay we didn't notice or paid much attention, but displacing through the previous day high, you can say, or current high of the week as well, forming clear true breakout structure. So yeah, 100% valid reason to frame longs the next day or be bullish biased simply. उसको खुद ही इनवाइट सेंड मेरे को बोलते हैं।
ऊपर ही नहीं आया रहा था।
मैंने सोचा मैंने भेजी या फिर उधर देखा मेरे को एक्सेप्ट नहीं हो रही थी इनवाइट सेंड है।
क्या सेशन?
Yes, and this
अच्छा।
framework was same in all other assets forming true breakout. So yeah, not just this, but I would have wanted this low to hold, and not just this low. This is wide enough range opposing candle, thick opposing candle being clearly closed through. So I would have simply wanted upper half of this to support price higher, which would have anyways aligned with the EQ of previous day's range. Use whole day's range, see how these both align, or use till close. I would have preferred using whole day's range. See how these both align. This is something you can look as a refined invalidation for the next day. Very rarely happens, but when it happens, this is a quality signature to take advantage of. Now, going into New York session, NQ wasn't my first pick for longs. Now, coming to the reason why. Okay, prior to New York session, we can see NQ has already tagged its low hanging fruit, which is previous day objective. Vice versa, yes, but not YM. NQ has tagged its low hanging fruit objective previous day high. Average daily range still says it can expand higher, at least 342, which would come somewhere here. So it can expand past its current high of the day. So price is not expanding, so I would not want a reversal to happen from here. So either a retracement, either consolidation. For retracement, this wasn't good enough range for me to consider it a valid retracement leg which I could trust and trade away the following expansion from it. Why you, if you compare all three assets, or even if you just look at this is somewhat like, and this, I won't use this, I would use proper enough range opposing leg so that I could be comfortable trading away from this swing, which I simply wasn't comfortable trading away from this swing. So I desperately wanted price to come actually create a retracement leg because I wasn't considering this as a retracement leg. So now I could see this whole move as one or expansion to consolidation. So how I was wanting it to print actually come and create a retracement leg, sweep out this and use this as a retracement objective. And how you can see it for yourself as well. If you compare the assets, you can see which one actually dipped below. Like ES dipped much better than NQ, and if you compare it within the current day's range, this is not well enough but still better than NQ, है ना? And which actually dipped back into previous day high or actually dipped to create a retracement line within the current daily range which you can trust holding. I wasn't simply confident with this holding, neither with this, and you can simply see it never actually dipped to form a clear retracement leg. so that the following New York drivers can expand away from it. But now, if you look at YM, can you see the enough ranged opposing dip? I can. The same framework I just talked about, enough ranged. You can simply see the exact print here, है ना? So, I could actually say this or trust this as a retracement leg. And once I didn't even use this, but I could simply see expansion to retracement. And once it starts displacing away from this, I could trust this. I could trust trading away from this, viewing this as expansion to retracement to then again expansion, as I have my main objective above me. Only thing which I need to be considered about, which is left there, is previous day. This is somewhat of a convictional based position, that anticipational position, I would say, that good of a framework. Previous day set too good of a framework, so that I could like adjust previous day and anticipate this getting displaced through for this objective. The way I manipulated this with that much willingness, and the way the current daily profile was forming, and the only asset which actually form a clear retracement line. So yeah, I could क्या बोलते हैं उसको हम भाई, एडजस्ट नहीं, क्या बोल सकते हैं वर्ड, आई कुड कोऑपरेट,
वर्ड।
है ना? क्या बोल रहे हो?
मैंने वर्ड बोला।
चोर है ना? आई कुड एडजस्ट, और यार वो नहीं बोलते उसको कि थोड़ा,
वही कौन है नया बंदा जिसको तूने मेंटी का वो दिया?
बाद में बताता हूँ, रिकॉर्डिंग चल रही है,
क
कि अपने आई कुड ट्वीक it within the model. Normally, I would wait for this to get displaced through last line of defense, as you see me say many times, but very rare of condition. As I said, very convictional based position. So I took a position before even seeing the reaction there, with the conviction that yes, I can actually trade away from this actual draw where the manipulation happened. So yeah, I could be less concerned with it. So, and if it would have turned on me, this is something I can accept the risk upon. Like if it rejects previous layer, just that the way it was forming, and the only asset which had this good of a framework, and the objective was within the current day's range, within the current day's reach. So yeah, I tweaked the approach a bit, and if it would have turned on me, still okay. I could risk losing on a quality framework. I mean, it would have been still valid. I could have still maybe tried one more if it would have came, swept this, and again started going higher. But actual, if you say me, prior to 9 a.m. candle, which is the asset which I can actually trust, this being as a retracement like this. All three assets look, I would say, exactly same. Minute difference, the way this formed. Now, how I was able to see it, just screen time and muscle memory of eye. Now you maybe would be able to see it for yourself as well. The way this formed, the way this formed, and the way this formed, which is the most enough range opposing leg. Simply this. Plus cherry on top, its actual objective was within the average daily range reach. So yes. Now makes sense why I trusted this, and simply I took this entry, therefore not exactly orally. Use orally or use 30. I used 30. You can use orally as well. I used 30. Both were same at the same time as well. I used this London reversal, so New York continuation, taking it prior to the 930 driver, expecting that driver to expand away from this point because I can actually trust and trade away from this, which is the exact motive of my model, finding something which you can trade away from. This is something I could trade away. So yeah, I took this. The time it closed through this, the position is still running, but yes, I mean partial could have been secured, but nowadays I'm treating my main account just as a paper account, very low risk, just practicing as I was on a break for a period of time. So just in 1 2 weeks of me returning back, I would be very low
Too
risk.
good, too good.
Sure, very low risk until the end of January at least. Normally, yes, if it would have been a normal risk position, maybe yes, I would have copped a partial when it was in its heights. वर्ड भूल गया पर कोई बात नहीं. And I said one more thing, which was simply just based on this information. I said that NQ should go lower, YM should go higher, and this sounded like NQ YM's magical relation, but somewhere correlation part and their individual framework as well. NQ's individual framework said that this is the least, like, last thing which I could trust, and YM's framework said the best thing I could trust in the current daily range. I would have least expectations of price returning back to this in YM and most expectations of price returning back till here. And even if I wanted to frame NQ longs, which were totally valid from the daily framework, but I couldn't trade away from this. So I was desperately wanting NQ to create a retracement, like using this as a retracement objective. So NQ's framework telling me at least till there, short. YM framework telling me I could trade away from this. YM framework telling me long. NQ framework telling me short. Plus the way NQ and YM are correlated, these are correlated around 44%, which is not a simply direct correlation. So you can expect somewhat of inverse correlation sometimes, not every time, sometimes. NQ and ES are correlated about 87% to each other, and ES and YM are correlated to each other for like 84%. So you can see ES making similarities with NQ and ES making similarities with YM at the same time. That's why you can call this as a middle asset. Aligns with this, aligns with this as well. YM leads in strength, NQ leads in weakness. This is just correlation factor, and you simply do not make a position just based off correlation. Individual framework needs to be there, just like how I was switching to single screen to get an idea by the assets individual framework, then align correlation. Now you actually know why I was expecting NQ to move lower, YM to move higher. Now comes the point. Everybody said that okay, even if I was looking for NQ to go lower, है ना? Okay, if we skip one candle, one hourly candle ahead, NQ came much lower. Okay, as I wanted, YM went higher as I wanted. See, now just looking at previous day high, this would look good as previous day high manipulation to then shorting. And but and if we look at the lower time frame, this would look more good. है ना? अब चेंज हो गया लोअर टाइम फ्रेम मुंबई नहीं सॉरी ठीक है this would look more good. Price rejecting highs, then this is simply ranging condition. As I said, I wouldn't consider this as a retracement away from this. And if you just watch the 3 minute, assuming it for the daily range, Now tell me, is this dipped properly within to actually call it a retracement? Like you can actually see it as a consolidation range, but leave that part. Expansion, is it actually dipped, came back, and then moving away? Nope. But if we have a look at YM, you can see expanded actually dipped, है ना? Don't make it complex, but just make it obvious for your eyes. If I just zoom, you can simply see it, visualizing it as a line chart, simply, not a retracement. Huh? Consolidation sweeps, opposing end of consolidation, comes back 930 aligned, है ना? 930 confirms the manipulation of the range, reaches here where I would have wanted the retracement of current daily range to form retracement objective. Now, if it should have formed, this would have been your idea. This should have formed here, right? But it didn't, and this low failed, simply got displaced through. As I have called many times, lows being displaced through bearish order flow, highs getting rejected bearish order flow. Good, but still, why I wasn't calling this as a good position, even though this, क्या बोलते हैं, gave almost 2 hour, है ना? I mean, not the worst position, but how I was rating it, not the best position, how I would call it. You would have wanted retracement to happen from here. Retracement doesn't happen. This close happens at the 15-minute closing time as well. Good, है ना? But still, why I wasn't calling it as a position I would take. I would take. I wouldn't take. Let's talk about it. पर इसमें एक्चुअल में डाउट यही था या कुछ और था? रुकना 2 मिनट. भाई 12 PM ऑलमोस्ट, है ना? 2,000 लगाएंगे ये. वाह चैंपी वाह.
बहुत गंदा पिए है अभी तो। कल कल होगी ना एक्सपेंशन एक बारी के लिए, तो तभी अब थोड़ा
हाँ, मेरे को अब रेंज है, छोड़ो, यहाँ तक की भी मुश्किल लग रहा है. आप ही 2 PM बोलते हो. देखते हैं आपका 2 PM आज.
मैं तो ब्रेक इवन
ब्रेक इवन बच्चे.
कर मैंने तो कर दी है अपनी ब्रेक इवन भाई,
मैंने
क्यों?
नहीं करी, मैं सेशन के बाद देखता हूँ.
नहीं, अपनी जो
हाँ
मैंने
ठीक
ली
है.
है।
मैंने बोला ही नहीं कुछ भी. बोला मैंने कुछ?
बट मैं सब बड़े दुख होते हैं, हमेशा ब्रेक इवन हिट होके बड़ी पार्टी पी।
मैं बोलिया नहीं कखवीर. कदी डरा दे.
डरता हूँ यार।
हैं?
चल मैं खाना खुना खा के आया यार, भाभी लेके आए खाने को।
गुड बॉय.
ठीक है।
कहाँ पे था मैं? ओके, ठीक है. So the answer, yes, it worked, but still it wasn't my first priority. The answer lies where? I mean, not that it is very bad. Could be framed, and I would tell how I would have wanted if I wanted to frame. I was looking to frame it, yes, but how I would have wanted if I would wanted to frame this. क्या था? बताना क्या था? हैं? एक सेकंड। Okay, the answer lies again back to the daily chart. What was the bias going into the day? Simply bullish for all assets, है ना? So in this condition, if I tell you that I would want you to short off of previous day high or frame long still previous day high, what would be your क्या बोलते हैं priority? है ना? What would be your first priority? Longing till previous day high rather than shorting off a previous day high because of the higher time frame framework. Price is in a bullish order flow, bullish trend as we can say, है ना? Okay, but we have the assets actually for that, है ना? Our idea is long from the relevant low. Oh, sorry, manipulation of relevant low. So next day long or next few days long, है ना? Too good of a framework, quality framework. So let's just not switch, or we can actually switch. Just wait a minute, है ना? One asset doesn't form the ideal daily profile to get onside with longs. Okay, one asset, but we still have that quality bullish framework in three assets. If one doesn't form, doesn't mean we should switch. First priority should still be like focusing on the bullish framework from this manipulation, and one asset had still better framework long within the current day range. So why not focus on that? I am not saying this is bad, but what I am saying, this should be your first priority, this should be second. As going into the day, where your most attention should be, here manipulation of there. So in a bullish framework, this doesn't align, but this is properly aligning, है ना? So why not frame this as a better asset than this, than to marry a single asset? Okay, NQ isn't showing reaction, the ideal reaction you would have wanted to see on previous day, but YM is forming a good daily profile, how it should have formed, है ना? Why not focus on that? Like you are supposed to look this direction, you have three options. These two are not aligning, but this is. Simply have your attention there rather than here. Not saying that you can should discard, but क्या बोलते हैं उसको क्वालिटी डिफरेंस वाली चीज बता रहा हूँ, प्रायोरिटी वाली चीज. So this would still be high probability than this. That short was yes based upon the current daily profile idea, not the daily chart. Still valid, but the probability of it working would obviously be less than that. And now you would actually know the reason why. And what our approach was that we want to see, we had seen an expansion, we want to see an retracement like, है ना? But that retracement like idea, we transitioned that idea to reversal till there where I mean plausible, rejecting previous day high, displacing through the last line of defense till the low of the day. But still, which is the better idea here or just off of here? Here, and one asset is still aligning the next day to this idea. Why you're if you stick, I'm saying stick to this just bullish. This is not bullish. Okay, cross, not cross, but just for a moment. Then you can look at this right that way. I'm saying. First priority, then this second priority. Now. Now comes the thing, ये आधा रीजन मैं भूल चुका हूँ, आधा याद करने की कोशिश करता हूँ। हम्म थोड़ा थोड़ा याद है, मैं उसी से अपने माइंड को स्टिल वही बता रहा हूँ। रुको, कि आवर फर्स्ट आइडिया वाज टू सी रिट्रेसमेंट ऑफ करंट डेली रेंज, है ना? डन सीन है। रिट्रेसमेंट टू देन गो हायर। वाई एम इमीडिएटली बुलिश है, ये थोड़ा लैकिंग है क्योंकि इसमें रिट्रेसमेंट बनी, सो इट हैज टू क्रिएट अ रिट्रेसमेंट लाइक। तो not saying this as the worst position, but we are trading against the trend, right? This position would have been valid. I myself would have taken it if my bias would have been bearish going into the day. Then you can simply take the first signature after the reversal. Makes sense. Convictional daily charts bias. Simply you demand enough or simple signature, है ना? But this is against the trend. And when one asset is still aligning with the trend, that is the best play for the day. So this is against the trend. There you should demand some extra signatures than the normal orthodox signatures. This is good, but when aligned with the higher time frame direction, this is good manipulation of a high, displacement through a low, good. But when aligned with the higher time frame direction, then these work together as a high probability setup. But these are against the current day range, है ना? Or the higher time frame framework. So you should demand what, a bit more framework when you are framing against the trend. Either if it confuses you, simply don't frame against the trend ideas. But if you wanna frame, then you need to demand some more conviction out of them. And how that conviction would have looked, होगे कंफ्यूज, इसलिए मैं बोलता हूँ अपनी प्रेफरेंस सिंपल, जो एसेट लाइन कर रहा है उस पर रखो, उस पर सिंपल काम करो, बस वेटिंग पीरियड ज़्यादा होता है। एडवांस वाली चीज़ें दिमाग खराब ही कर देती हैं कभी, है नहीं? अच्छा सुनना अब, ठीक है, फर्स्ट सिग्नेचर, ठीक है। नॉट टेल मी दिस इज 9:45। चुप चुप चुप। वी वर एट द ऑर्ली चार्ट, प्राइस हैडेंट नहीं होता है कुछ, हैजेंट, ठीक है। हैडेंट भी होता है वैसे, हैड नॉट होता है यार। छोड़ो बात, अभी मैं भूल गया हूँ। होता है ना, हाँ गलत नहीं बोला था मैंने। प्राइस हैडेंट डिस्प्लेस दिस मच लोअर एट दैट 9:45 क्लोजर, है ना? It was somewhere around there, still there. And what was our idea for this next candle? Our idea was expansion and this next candle 9 a.m. to create a retracement leg of current daily range. If we just talk about NQ, so if 9 a.m. early candle creates a retracement leg, when should the expansion occur? 10 a.m. simply. So simply, if this isn't simply aligned with the higher time frame trend, trading against the trend, demanding more confirmation would be 9 a.m. is supposed to go lower anyway, huh? Let it go lower. We do not need to predict if this is a reversal of the daily range or a retracement of the daily range. What would confirm with more conviction is 10 a.m. Because if this is a retracement, 10 a.m. is supposed to move higher from this. If this is reversal, 10 a.m. is supposed to move away from this and not align with this, towards this, respecting this as the reversal, and not towards this, making this a retracement. Better idea, like giving क्या बोलते हैं, confidence to that true breakout below this idea. What looked like true breakout below this would have been high time frame candle going below this as a retracement, next higher time frame, going back inside as retracement to expansion. कहाँ गया 3 minute? Like time based opening, time based closing. Like I do not have the specific examples which currently with which I can tell you that क्या का बोलना ही क्या था मैंने की like the true breakout signature, this could simply be a single leg and 10 a.m. doing this, so this would eventually go in vain, not aligned with high time frame. Leave that. But what was I about to say? Like yeah, like sometimes you do not view this as this, but instead as this, because when it can be at the places, so you need to tell yourself, is this asset aligned simply aligned with high time frame direction simply, then you can high time frame, you can demand less confirmation and a simple framework this. But if not aligned, then you need to think more, need to demand more conferences. Okay, let this hold and let 10m displace away from there, then I can actually think, है ना, makes much more sense. क्योंकि मेरे पास ऑब्जेक्टिव स्टिल ये या ये पड़ा है, अगर बेरिश, नॉट बेरिश बट कैपिंग द करंट डे रेंज, है ना, ऑब्जेक्टिव अगर ये पड़ा है, स्टिल इनफ रूम नो ऑफ द डे में मान लो चलो कि अगर यहाँ पे मैं मारूँ तो मेरे को मिल रहा है कुछ 4 आवर एंड दिस इज अगेंस्ट द ट्रेंड, ठीक है, so why not demand and increase your probability, demand more conviction and take something like this better. Like this actually ends up holding, price tells you this is not a retracement, price needs to create a new low of the day, that would be by new hourly open, when new hourly open expands away from this, not towards this. If new hourly opens does this, this would simply be this and this manipulation of this, that would be retracement of current daily range. Done, seen it. So these signatures all are good when aligned with high time frame. You do not need to think very deeply. But when these are not, you need to align them with high time frame candles. Like if you attended my today's morning session, I was telling Ombai that one thing I myself didn't do with NQ, that I didn't wait for that first M15 closer and to see the next M15 displays away from there. That was a different case, but still using a high time frame closer, right? And seeing if the next high time frame closer actually starts respecting and displacing away from there. And this never formed. It formed, but I was wanting to take this around 10 a.m. Like I was okay taking this. Okay, let me take this is still what I wanted 10 a.m. to do, but this has happened prior to 10 a.m. Like price displacing through this and actually continuing the move. So this is the only time I considered that okay, now I could actually use this, like not using the first signature immediately against the trend, could use the second, but this didn't happen and I stick, this didn't happen here, this happened here, didn't come back and I dropped the idea. Could have still framed using the original idea of 10 a.m. like if 10 a.m. displaces away from there, but the thing is you have to make it this much complex. Why not simply use the asset which is aligned with the high time frame framework. You do not need to do much of a holy grail work. Just aligned with the high time frame direction and no double-sided idea, no guesswork. That's why I always prefer being aligned with the daily candle direction. But there would be cases when you can tweak it. So I am telling these for those cases, like demand more structures when against the trend. कि कुछ तो एक दो सेशन में पहले भी बोला मैंने कि लेस कन्विक्शन तो मोर फ्रेमवर्क मांगो, मोर फ्रेमवर्क, और हाई कन्विक्शन तो लेस फ्रेमवर्क मांगो। कुछ तो बोला हुआ है पहले भी मैंने, है ना। मैंने शॉर्ट लिया बिकॉज एनक्यू में बहुत साइड देख रहा था ब्रिटिश लेग की ई क्यू है, मतलब अच्छा ये मैंने देखा ही नहीं है क्योंकि आई वॉज सिंपली जस्ट कंसर्न अबाउट रेंज लो मैनिपुलेशन। So I would be like 100% bullish until that bullish framework fails. This is one of the cases. You are saying you were using EQ of this range. I mean, still previously I rests around that level. If this fails, the range fails. But this is one of those framework which is too good quality where I do not need to use this. I would have high conviction in one direction, which I had bullish until this fails. Until this fails, I would stick to this idea. I mean, too clear. You can see expansion, ranging, like breaks out of the range, comes back in aggressively. Yes, clear relevant low, clear willingness, and coming properly back in. I would just be concerned about relevant swing. What happened there? Manipulation, clear manipulation. Concerned about the next relevant swing, either this or use this. Getting my idea? This is where I could use discount premium, where the opposing side also looks good. Like this manipulation looks good in itself, but the opposing side, compare, है. Now compare this versus what is to the opposite side. This doesn't hold much significance anyways for me, है. Then what this would hold, right? A proper clear leg. So I need to be more cautious, swimming all the way till there, right? Still, your approach wasn't wrong at all. I wouldn't say I didn't use it just based off of my conviction. Conviction is personal, subjective. It's like I had it with YM today. Normally, I stay very conservative mode, which I wasn't on YM today. Hai na? I took it even before previous day I was hit, expecting previous day to get displaced through. I think my point. This is my YM's position still running. Same. To trust this, trading away from this, close through this, took it even before I saw the reaction at previous day. This candle, opening of this candle. Yes. So held through all this, stop at the stop here. Once price came back, after displacing away from here, then I could touch this orly high. No aggressive trailing. Let it actually expand away. I didn't trail my stop till here until this, but 10:30 or this 11 started expanding away, and I could expect this to be the low of H4 candle, है ना? और भी दिखाऊं अगर समझा यार आप चल रहे यार into the retracement to expansion expand this much. I would want this to held. I would want this opposing move to be retracement and not reversal. Retracement, where would it end? Retracement objective, it ended there. Price closes through this, then I would want this to hold. Now still holding, I would close it by end of the day. Still targeting this. Would see. Okay, is enough or any more doubts? बस भाई जी done है done. 10 a.m. candle का वेट भाई क्लियर.
डन है सर।
भाई मैंने शॉट लिया बिकॉज
पर
एनक्यू में बोथ साइड. बोलो जस्ट भाई कुछ.
यही पूछना था कि डन है आज का तो वैसे, पर एनक्यू और ईएसक्यू में जब तीनों में फ्रेमवर्क सेम ही था
कंपेयर करो ना.
तो
सेम था बट
आया।
सेम था बट यहाँ पे कंपेयर करो ना ये वाली चीज. Prior to the 9 a.m. candle, this just till there.
हाँ जी।
You would want this low of the day to hold in all three assets. Same framework for all three, है ना? Then
यस।
this should be a different phase than expansion. This looks like a clear retracement to me and proper enough range retracement. And price willingly displacing away from there. So I can actually trust this. But in the case of NQ and ES, you can see the difference from YM. That point I made, like dipping within and then going. That simply isn't there. I mean, without even looking at the lower time frame, I could just spot this as a range and not consider this as a retracement leg. Like expansion and this would not be a retracement to me. Retracement would is subjective to the recent range, here to here, है ना? जूम करके देखो तो ये भी बहुत बड़ा लगेगा, वैसा नहीं ना, लेग के साथ कंपेयर. And you asked Anji bhai, you asked about that ES short somewhat NQ ने ये मैनिपुलेट कर दिया था M5 पे, है ना? कहाँ गया M5 यार, टाइप करा पता नहीं लगा. 5. हाँ ES लॉन्ग पर द मोमेंट NQ सब यही था, है ना? Like you said why I wasn't confident, why I would not have taken. I didn't even look at it, but why I would have not have taken. Look at the individual framework of ES still. I am not okay trading away from this. If I am not okay trading away from this, how could I use something off of this range to trade to trust this, and I cannot even trade away from this? I could look for continuations once I have something which I can trade away from. Okay, I can look for continuations within the daily range because I have something within the daily range I can use to trade away. Then I can use this to frame entry. But when I simply do not have something which I can trade away, how can I look for continuations? So the idea itself is wrong. Getting my point? Looking for longs here, and it eventually fails as well. ये ज़्यादा बेरिश गया भी नहीं, वही था कि रिट्रेसमेंट बनानी थी इसको यहाँ पे। And 10 a.m. formed, open low to then high. 9 a.m. retrace, 10 a.m. open low, coming back. Not visible in plain sight, but gotta think that way within the daily range context. है ना? If you could ask me you wanted to take this long, I could say valid for a moment. I mean, I would not take valid for a moment because viewing this as a retracement leg, then this as an actual expansion. So if you say you can trust trading away from this, yes, now I could consider the same idea. If you can trust trading away, then you can look for continuations accordingly. Trust trading away, look for continuations. I wouldn't have taken, I haven't taken simply. uh, but if you say this, then I could say valid, better than this, much, much. My entry still that why I'm best asset, so simply that. If you would have taken this for an instance, I mean at least 1.5 hours, not 2 hour. Okay. एक और डाउट, बेरिश लेग की EQ के नीचे नियर पीरियड से वहां से शॉर्ट्स भी देख सकते थे और है वीडियो एंड H1 लेवल के नीचे। ये मैंने समझा दिया पर है ना, लाइक एक और चीज, यू वर, देयर वुड बी टाइम्स, suppose there would be times I would be using a specific level just to use it as a confluence. Like if you would ask me, would I use manipulation off of there to frame an idea? No. But would I use it to add confidence to my idea to see it getting displaced through? Yes, I would. So that range, daily range, which you sent, I would not even trust this holding. So how would I want the range of it to hold? I would not even want this to hold at the first place. Get my point? We only use ranges when we can trust, we want some low to hold. Sure, मैंने गंदी बात सुनानी, using the range here because I could trust this low getting held. So yeah, then seeing if the range holds or not. But I simply would see this as a failure into this or this. So would you see this as an engineered liquidity at the first place? Would I want EQ of this range to be displaced? Yes, to just use it as a confluence, not to frame this range on its own. Getting my point? And the reason why I wasn't okay framing shots this way, this or this, I do not exactly remember, है ना? मैंने और रिक्की भाई ने कुछ डिस्कस करा था कि M3 पे लॉन्ग्स कुछ तो थे, है ना रिक्की भाई? मतलब would have found the better way, but narrative framing good थी उस दिन, आइडिया टू गुड था. Structure M5 पे could have found like it was 8 out of 10, could have found the 10 out of 10 way, but idea was 10 on 10 इसी दिन, if I am not wrong, और नेक्स्ट दिन, इस दिन शायद, बिकॉज मैं एनी वेज इसको ही प्रोटेक्टेड नहीं मान रहा, समझ रहे हो? तो इससे अवे कैसे खुशी से कर लो, ईएस में कर सकता हूँ इससे अवे, बिकॉज लुक एट ईएस, ईएस में आई कैन ट्रेड अवे फ्रॉम दिस. इफ यू कुड हैव took a shot, still I would say bit valid. Not best because of this. Bit valid more than NQ. I do not think I would have. think है और फिर डाउट यार डन. मैं एक बार check कर लेता हूँ. आप 9:30 ये तो बोल दिया है ना. 9:35 बुलिश होगी है ना. रिमेम्बर जब रिदम भाई ये भेज रहे थे, मैंने उनको बोला मैं भी समवट यही देख रहा था पर ये इमीडिएटली नहीं बना तो आई ड्रॉप द आइडिया है ना. ये मैं एक्चुअली चाहता था 10 एम में बने और 10 एम भी नहीं बना, ऊपर से इमीडिएट वो भी नहीं जा रहा. इसको भी मैंने ट्वीक करा, हालांकि हायर टाइम फ्रेम साथ भी अलाइन नहीं है. पूरा आइडिया हायर टाइम फ्रेम साथ अलाइन नहीं है उसके अगेंस्ट. और जो मैं चाहता था 10 एम मैंने वो बना भी 10 एम से पहले और फिर वो क्लोज भी अच्छे से नहीं हो रहा. मैं जा यार, मैं दिमाग खराब कौन करे. 10 तो इसको वो चाहिए, के बाद भी इसको भाव चाहिए. जाओ बाय बाय. भाव उसको दो जो एक्चुअली डिजर्व करता है वो वाले सेंस में. ओह नाइस. फिर पहुंच मेरी पोजीशन. माय पोजीशन नाइस नाइस. मुंबई वेरी खुश होंगे. वेरी नाइस. आई वांट आई डू थिंक आई वांट टू टेक इट ऑफ देयर. Because I simply cannot stay up all night to manage it. Uh, I mean, yeah, if more phones would have been there, I would have held, but let it be just one screenshot and I would cut the position here. Not in the condition to hold it all the way. Got us sleep. But I do think, yes, it is going there, there now actually. Good. This should be 10 a.m. Huh? Bye bye. मैं मस्त सोऊंगा. मुंबई को नहीं बताऊंगा मैंने काट दिया. 2 आवर से तो ज़्यादा है वैसे. नहीं. 2 आवर मेरा कितने पे है. क्या है. 5. नहीं 1.92 वही होता है यार. मैं थक गया. बहुत थक गया. मुंबई का हो गया होगा 2 आवर. मुंबई का फिल था 513. नहीं मुंबई का भी. ठीक है बॉयज. चलता है फिर. See how peaceful you can stay just by sticking to the asset which actually aligns with their high time frame direction. Nothing to do, just wait. If it stops you out, accept the risk. If it gives you the target, accept it. And don't confuse yourself with the asset which is not aligning with the high time frame direction. It would go 10 times up, 10 times down. Simply make a plan on the daily and the asset which aligns, frame it. Don't focus much on the asset which don't align. You would be in a much better mental condition if you just frame according to the daily chart. Like how I am from the last 2 3 hours non-calent. M30 position, simple. Previous day manipulation of a range low. Next take continuation. London reversal, near continuation, enough range opposing leg which I could trust, and a position which I do have conviction in, so I don't even didn't even bother about previous day high being there. Took it before injection there. Just held with my original stop. Held through all the and I still think this would get to, but too late. I have to see. I would cut it almost 2 hours. Yes, that's for today. अभी भी कोई डाउट है? अभी रिकॉर्डिंग ऑफ नहीं करिए, जल्दी बताओ, कुछ लिखा भी नहीं. So the best thing is to have a daily basis and only trade it. हाँ, the amount of simplicity and the amount of less exhaustion on the mind, unmatched. क्यों मेरे को समझाने में ही आपको देख लो कितना वो लग गया है ना, तो ये एक्चुअली सोचने में कितना वो लग जाएगा. एंड दिस वुड create doubts in you when you would be actually framing the right asset as well. So the best thing you can do is to avoid the asset which is not the best, है ना, and not in line with the daily. Avoid counter trend ideas. In short term, they would look good. Okay, you gained 1.5 hour, 2 hour, but these would create doubts in you when you would be about to take the entries, simple entries to good entries, which are not something which you need to be, which you for which you need to make it very complex, just like how this was. Then you still would be in doubts for the simple to good entries. ये तो टेक्स्ट बुक है, मेंटरशिप में जैसे समझाया था वैसे नहीं है, डिटो वैसा ही है ना. लंडन रिवर्सल, M15 M30 एंट्रीज इवन प्रायर टू न्यूयॉर्क, अर्ली न्यूयॉर्क, 7 AM लो है, डिटो टेक्स्ट बुक सेटअप है. बट ऐसे पे भी डाउट उठ जाता है फिर, क्योंकि व्हेन वी सेटल फॉर लेस, तब जो एक्चुअल वर्थ इट होता है हम उस पर भी क्वेश्चन कर लेते हैं, मन में आ ही जाता है. आई हैव बीन थ्रू इट. देयर इज अ रीजन you people used to see many 1 minute positions from me back then, and now there are none. It requires a next level of mental energy which I used to have back then. I do not know how, but I do not have that level of mental energy now. And so I have cut out all the noise. I used to frame many assets back then. This tab used to be full with 9 10 tabs. Now it's just for one asset class. If I say simply, this is something I do not use, just if I need. So simply this has, I would say, 2 tabs. This is for same work, one hourly chart and one M15, simply for one asset class indices. And I have cut out the noise properly. Best thing you can do, so you can focus on one thing and actually master it to the extent it looks effortless. And when it starts to look effortless, when the peak efforts look effortless, that's when, like, things start to change. That should be the ultimate goal. I mean, there is a reason I preach about a guy, AM. Every move of him looks so effortless, even though it is so well curated. I had I have made a recap of of yesterday's price action. As I came late and made a mistake, I went like very in depth and came with the conclusion of two positions. One would be a loss, and a loss which I regret not able to take because I was late. है ना? And that loss, like I came to that decision that I would frame that loss 10 out of 10 times after an hour of continuous discussion with Ombai, obviously, and a in-depth discussion. And then I saw, what I see is AM also had took that loss, and it looked again so effortless. That loss matched the asset as well, but then the long entry, that was a different asset. AM took years long. I wouldn't have taken, but see how effortless the peak efforts look. Consistency, not doing the wrong things and doing the right things at the same time. Just doing the right things won't do much good. Avoiding the wrong things as well, like avoiding the things which you know you shouldn't be doing. Those also make a difference because then you would actually trust in the right setups and you would start avoiding the bad setups. Like you would have seen me demanding structure, or I simply do not trust this, I do not trust this, because I have become very selective, because I have cut out noise. I actually know what I want to frame. So that cuts out noise for me, and I actually have clarity then. Like this is my, if this is my standard, if it matches, then I would say yes. If it doesn't, let it stay below it. That way. Got my point. Today's recap, I would try to upload it as soon as possible. Like I would need to do another part two of the recap I did in the morning. So three sessions. These three would be the next three sessions that would be uploaded on my YouTube. The videos that are currently in line, I would delay them. Like the one session I took in the morning, this current one which is still running, and one I would do tomorrow morning. These three I would schedule as soon as possible. The next three would be these three. What I'm saying. ठीक है जस भाई, ठीक लगा अब? गुड है गुड.
सही लगा, सही लगा। हाँ जी, गुड।
थोड़ी क्लैरिटी है अब. आप पूछते हो कि भाई आप कॉम्प्लेक्स कर लोगे, हम कैसे करेंगे, पर वायम वाला देख के आ गया ना कि कॉम्प्लेक्स करने की जरूरत ही नहीं
हुँ, हुँ,
है
हुँ।
ना. बस वही है, वेटिंग पीरियड ज़्यादा हो जाता है. तो ओके, वेटिंग पीरियड ज़्यादा, तो एक्चुअली हमें क्वालिटी फ्रेमवर्क फ्रेम करने को तो मिल रहा है. इतने फालतू चीज़ों से बच भी तो रहे हैं. वेटिंग पीरियड ज़्यादा है मतलब हमें अच्छे के लिए वेट करवाया जा रहा है, ताकि हम बुरे में फंस के दिमाग खराब ना कर लें. जो रिवॉर्ड हमने अच्छे से कमाया वो बुरे को ना दे दें. हाँ.
सर।
तो अच्छी बात है, जब बुरा है तब वेट करवा लो कि जीरो पे रवा लो, और दिमाग भी, मेंटल एनर्जी भी बचवा दें हमारी. तो अच्छी बात है, वेटिंग पीरियड तो होना चाहिए. जब तक अच्छा नहीं है तब तक हमारा मॉडल हमें बोलता है चल पीछे जा. तो बी ओके विद वेटिंग. ऐसा वेटिंग मेरे को याद है मैं करता था 2024 में. वो अलग लेवल करता था भाई. मस्त. मुंबई सुनाएंगे आपको कल. बाकी ठीक है ना, कोई डाउट तो नहीं किसी को? डन है. ऑफ कर दूं फिर. संजय भाई, आई गेस दिस इज योर फर्स्ट टाइम अटेंडिंग लाइव सेशन, है ना? हाउ वाज इट फॉर यू? लेट मी टर्न ऑफ द रिकॉर्डिंग विथ यू.